This video is going to review the little real or fake law activity that I had you complete. And we're just going to go through them one by one, kind of talk about the reasons behind things. And the first one was in Salem, West Virginia. It's illegal to sell children candy during the hour before church. And you can imagine the rationale behind this is that people wouldn't want kids to get all hyper from eating candy that close to church. Instead, they want them to be sitting there nice and calm, as the little boy in this picture is. And so you can see the justification for it. And in fact, that law is real. In Salem, West Virginia, it is illegal to sell children candy in the hour before church. The next was in Memphis, Tennessee. There's a statute, and a statute is a synonym for the word law. There's a statute that states that corn on the cob cannot be eaten within 50 feet of a pigeon. And so, kind of the rationale there could be, maybe it could harm the pigeon. Maybe we're worried about, if you feed pigeons, they're going to attack people looking for food. So that law does make sense. You can imagine the rationale for it. But in fact, it is fake. That's a fake law. But again, you can kind of see why it would be real. The next one, in Tupelo, Mississippi, it's illegal to display a pumpkin after October 31st. And you can imagine the idea is we don't want a pumpkin to go from something like the one on the screen to, one that's kind of falling in upon itself and disintegrating. So you can imagine the rationale for it. But again, that one's fake. That was a fake law. But you can see why. And that's not saying even that other cities might not have this law in effect, because I would bet some do. There's a law in Boston, Massachusetts, which states that every pickle for sale must bounce 4 inches when dropped from waist height. And I would imagine this goes way back to when pickles were still sold in barrels, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And I'm assuming somebody somewhere got a stale pickle offered to them. And so that one's real. It's still on the books in Boston. I don't know that it's enforced much now that most pickles are packaged in jars, but, if you drop it from waist height, that shows that it's still, that it's not stale and that it's good to go. In Brookshire, Connecticut, it's illegal for children to dive into or play within rake piles of leaves on a street. And you can imagine the potential for injury here, the fear that cars might run through a rake pile of leaves with a child within it. So you can imagine the reasoning behind this, but in fact that law is fake. But again, you could see why it would be real, and that's kind of the point. Storing snowballs in a freezer or refrigerator is illegal in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. And my theory on this would be that, at some point someone put a snowball in a freezer and it froze up into an ice ball, and in the middle of summer, some poor kid walking along with his snowball defenses down got hit in the face and maybe lost an eye or something crazy. And that, in fact, is a real law, that it's illegal to store snowballs in a freezer or fridge. The next one, in Pennsylvania, it's illegal for 16 or more women to live together in a house, which would make a sorority house such as the one pictured illegal. And in fact, they are illegal. In Pennsylvania, you'll see there are no sorority houses because this law is real. And the theory behind it goes way back to the idea that if that many women live in one place, it would be a brothel. House of prostitution. And so because of that, in Pennsylvania, it's illegal for that many women to live together. It's illegal to carry an open can of spray paint in New York City. And you can imagine the rationale behind that is because of the graffiti problem in New York. And so that one's real also. In Florida, an elephant tied to a parking meter must have the meter filled as if it's a car. And this falls into one of those stupid laws because it is real. And, I'm sure some municipality was worried about losing some parking revenue, and that led to it, but that's a real law. And our final one, in San Francisco, California, it's illegal for car wash attendants to use old underwear as wiping rags when cleaning or drying cars. And, back when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, that was pretty common to use old underwear as wiping rags and, even to wash cars. And it must have happened in San Francisco, too, because that law is real. And so, we went through the 10 laws, and, several of them were real, some were fake. But the point is, we could justify every one of them. And it shows you that laws don't come from nowhere. And they come from the values of people in that society. And that's what you're going to look at in the next VODCAST. You're going to look at kind of the values, and we kind of categorize them that lead to our laws that we make in this country. So this was just an exercise to show you, they do come from somewhere, even if they sound crazy. Laws always do have a basis.